Good morning, everybody. I'm Charlie Bourne, practitioner for the day, and I'll be available for prayer support after service along with Shirley and Christy. So, but also right up front, I did want to welcome anybody new that's to the center today. And if you're new, we would love to show you around after service. Or if you want a welcome packet, Doug, our head usher, has some welcome packets in the back, so you can just let him know and he'll bring you a packet. Or you can just pick one up on your way out. So we're going to start with an opening song by George Rogers.
Well, sure. It's great to be here. I've been testing negative for my COVID thing, and man, I got to tell you that it's not your average disease. It's sort of hung on for a while, and so I'm glad to be here for that I'm back better again. But I'm also, pleased and honored to just be able to come up and play for you guys. And I have to confess, I have played this song before for you guys, but I love it, and I think that this song is a very spiritual song, and some people will agree with me. Right now I'm praying to get my guitar in tune. If my words did glow with the gold of sunshine, and my tunes were played on a harp unstrung, would you hear my voice coming through the music? Would you hold it near as it were your own? It's a hand-me-down. The thoughts are broken. Perhaps it's better left unsung. I don't know. I don't even care. Let there be songs to fill the air, ripple in the still waters, where there was no pebble tossed, nor wind to blow. Reach out your hand. If your cup it is empty, if your cup be full, may it be again. Let it be known that there is a fountain that was not made by the hands of man. Ripple in still water, where there was no pebble tossed, nor wind to blow. There is a road, no simple highway. It's between the dawn and the dark of the night, and if you go, no one may follow. That path was made for your steps along, rippled in still water, where there was no pebble tossed, no wind to blow. If you choose to leave, then you must follow. And if you fall alone. If you should stand, then who's to guide you? If I knew the way, I would take you home, rippled in still water, where there was no pebble tossed, no wind to blow. La da da, la da da, la da da. If I knew the way, I would take you home. So, thank you.
Thank you, George. Well, you sound pretty healthy to me. That was great. So we're going to invite the children up, and we'll sing them out to their class. And while they're coming up, if you want to wave to the camera, we have people online that watch us throughout the week. Hello, everybody. Hello. Nice to see our Sunday attendance for children growing. And I just want to shout out to Bonnie. She does a wonderful job with the Children's Church. And so if anybody online is listening and you want to bring your kids in, we got a great teacher out there. And a lot of her helpers are just wonderful. So I'd like to move into a few of our announcements. But first of all, I do want to say thank you to everybody who's in service today. I'm not going to go through all the names, but we have a lot of people that show up throughout the week, but also on Sunday morning to prepare for our Sunday service. So thank you for that. So we have a few announcements, and I'm going to keep it short and just remind you that you do have a program that you picked up. We also have a calendar in the back, and it's also online and on Facebook. So if you want to know what's going on, there's many ways to find out. And then Steve at the board desk has sign-up information as well as out in the hallway that you can do that as well. So coming up this week, I just want to highlight a few things. This Saturday is the Grace of Aging Sage Workshop with Shirley and Sue. And they team up, and this is an ongoing series, but it's a wonderful event, and it's well attended, and you learn from everybody. Everybody who shows up, that's who you learn from. So it's a great workshop. It's 9:30 to 12:30 this coming Saturday. And then I was going to invite Diana up if she's comfortable to talk about the Nourishing Our Community. It's a big fundraising and community building event coming up.
Morning, everybody. Nourishing Our Community is a fundraiser that started many, many years ago. And the idea behind it was to bring our community together in fellowship, doing an activity with a food component because we love to eat. And it has turned out over the years to be one of the biggest fundraiser and one of the most fun things that we do, to network all of you together to meet new people. But it starts with those individuals who are willing to step up and offer a Nourishing Our Community event. Events like hikes with a picnic, cards in the evening with dessert, a dinner in your home, maybe reading some poetry, a game night. There is a myriad of things that you can do. If you're an Academy Awards type person, you could host a party to watch the Academy Awards and have snacks. And the month of August will be a month where you guys come up with ideas of what you might be able to offer in your home or out in the community. It doesn't have to be at your home. How many people? It can be from a group of 5 to a group of 12. Usually 5 is about the less amount. And bring those creative ideas to me and I'll help you brainstorm and fill out the paperwork. And we need about 12 events to make the event work. So anyway, that's Nourishing Our Community.
Now that we're post-COVID, we anticipate this running really smooth this time around. I remember one of the events that I participated in was a scavenger hunt. And so everybody had to go around town and do these really silly things and take pictures and videos to prove that you did it. And then everybody came back and we showed movies, of those episodes. And it was just a lot of fun. It was crazy. So we have the Gong meditation coming up with Joan Richards. That's next Sunday, August 6th, 6:30 to 7:30. And then next week, real briefly, we have Dr. Mary's Caregiver Support Group from 10 to noon on August 10th. Awakening to Oneness with Life Meditation. So Jill Matthews has been doing this. She just started a couple of months ago, and it's every other Thursday, and it's really a wonderful experience because she's not the regular part of our community, but she's offering this to the community. And every time she's got 14 to 18 people, and they're not from our community. There's new people coming in, and they're just amazed by how beautiful our place is. They love the meditation pavilion, so it's really exciting to be in that energy and to sit in it. So I would invite you to participate, look for it. The next one will be Thursday, August 10th, 6:30 to 8. And then the Spiritual Music Jam is back with Steve and Michael Harris and Margot Friend Choice. So that'll be Friday, August 11th, 7 to 8:30. So we look forward to having the big circle, lots of drums and things to bang on and all that kind of stuff. So it's really a fun and nourishing event. And then we have another SOAR event coming up August 12th, so you can look for that. So the rest of it you can read in your handout or go online. And so now I'd like to invite Steve up to do today's reading, followed by the invitation of the bell. And with the invitation of the bell, allow that sound of the bell to go deep within and to resonate at your core level, at your God seed level. Steve?
Good morning. Today's reading is from The Inward Journey by Howard Thurman. Two men faced each other in a prison cell. They belonged to different countries, their roots watered by streams from different cultures. One was under sentence of death, scheduled to be executed within a few short hours. The other was his visitor and a friend. This, even though months before they had been enemies in a great war. They bade each other farewell for the last time. The visitor was deeply troubled, but he could not find his way through the emotional maze in which he was caught to give voice to what cried out for utterance. This is what he wanted to say, but could not. We may not be able to stop and undo the hard old wrongs of the great world outside. But through you and me, no evil shall come, either in the unknown where you are going, or in this imperfect and haunted dimension of awareness through which I move. Thus, between us, we shall cancel out all private and personal evil. Thus, arrest private and personal consequences to blind action and reaction. Thus, prevent the general incomprehension and misunderstandings, specifically hatred and revenge of our time, from spreading any further.
Please join with me in knowing there is only one life, and that's God's life, the source of the unfolding wisdom that created this universe. Each of us presents a unique image of the divine. No two of us the same, and yet in many ways similar. As our lives unfold, we share our God-given qualities with one another. When we participate in daily activities, we feel a sincere desire to express God's gift of love, light, wisdom, power, and peace. We choose to let go of limiting worries and fears, for we know that we're guided by an inner wisdom to meet the challenges that confront us. We're grateful, for we know that we are blessed by God's grace. And so in perfect faith, we release our word to the divine. And together we say, and so it is.
Thank you, Shirley. Good morning. So, we've been talking all month about truth. And so, as we conclude the message today, a lot of the information that we shared has been put together with I've mentioned this before, but globally, the Centers for Spiritual Living, they put together a theme for the year and then topics to discuss that support that theme. And then several ministers on that team will give some highlights so that we're all in every center teaching a universal idea each interpreted in our own way from each individual minister of each center. But I just thought I'd share with you that this month's series was done by Reverend David Robinson. Some of you remember he was our minister a few years ago, and now he's up in Washington. And so I wanted to highlight that out of respect for him and share one of his ideas as I move through this, sharing the idea of the standing stones. And I scratched my head at first. I thought, well, all this topic about truth and then suddenly standing stones. And so I was puzzled. But as I dove into my discovery, I hope that it enlightens your heart a little bit more on what this possibility of this message can mean to you. Because Mahatma Gandhi starts with, each one has to find his peace within. Peace, to be real, must be unaffected by outside circumstances. So again, the message this month has been truth to circumstances. Speaking that truth to circumstances. So I start with one of my favorite authors, Mark Nepo, in the Book of Awakening. He shares this, and I so identified, you can try to guess which character in this little story I identified with. I'll give you a clue, it's the whiner. Anyway, we were up early, eager to walk the botanical gardens of Montreal, where they have the largest bonsai collection in the world outside of Asia. We strolled towards the Chinese temple garden, a lush yet simple retreat from the streets that covered acres, a place of renewal originally constructed in the 1600s in China and moved stone by stone to Montreal in 1990. As we approached the massive gate, it was locked. I panicked, ready to demand entry after driving 400 miles from another country to see this. Robert, though, calmly, like an Oriental sage himself, treated the situation as if it were a koan, a riddle to be entered until its very assumptions shifted. He began to walk the outer wall of the garden. It seemed insurmountable. I was frustrated. He kept walking slowly along the high wall. Since this garden stretched for acres, I wondered if we would have to walk its entire perimeter. The thought made me cranky. He kept strolling, and suddenly, when we had walked farther than was originally in our view, the walls disappeared. It turned out that the garden had no walls, save for the facade of its entrance. So we simply walked through the open grass to a path that welcomed us. How many thresholds have seemed blocked, barred, or locked, only seem so from our initial viewing? How many opportunities for true living are barrier-free? If we can only remove ourselves, our minds, from their traditional points of entry. Mark Nepo. It's a good story because I'm going to start by sharing the idea of what are the standing stones on our journey. And so Reverend David shares this summary of this message. He says, circumstances can seem very real, like stone walls in our path. But Earnest Holmes reminds us to think independently of any existing circumstance. Think independently of any circumstance. This is what is meant by entering the absolute. And entering this realm of thinking, we connect with that infinite power from which all circumstances now spring, from which is greater than any circumstance. So, not burying ourselves into a mental game with anything, we just allow ourselves to shape our experience by returning to the wisdom of noting what we're thinking but feeling with our hearts at the same time. Ernest says this about the Spirit, that it is forever taking form and forever deserting from form which it has taken. So what does that mean? With every form, there are people who are happy with it, and then there's those that are unhappy with it, and those that don't care. That's our society right now. If you took a broad step back, some people are great with the things that are going on, and others are miserable, and others don't give a hoot. So we're looking at no one circumstance then is right or wrong over others. Not really. And Jesus said this, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall never pass away. My word of truth, my word of power and love. Nothing on earth, no circumstance or any set of circumstances is eternal. So we can relax with that knowing in itself that this too shall pass. This should inspire us to rise up and not get caught in the walls of circumstances and the conditions, and anchor, though, instead our minds in something that is indeed absolute, real, and infinite. So I thank Reverend David for those words. But let's dive in personally, each one of us here today, as our intention has been to shed light on speaking truth to circumstances. I was so amused last week with Reverend Andy's message to us all, and he spoke of Lincoln, right? As some of you were here and heard the message. And then he said, but he lied. And I thought, we don't speak on lie on the month of truth. But it was very interesting how he took that message. And we realized that oftentimes, if we're really honest with ourselves, we fudge things with these little lies or retelling of our stories. But how do we speak truth to circumstances? And circumstances can be understood as an outpicturing, really, of the thoughts, because we're manifesting things as we think. Anything that amplifies our tendency to feel that we are limited or powerless in the face of what is, that's our doing. The idea of stones on our path now, stones on our journey to see truth, these standing stones. So what do we do? As Scripture continues to highlight for us, and philosophy of science of mind dovetails with it so beautifully, the invitation is always take it to God. Take it to Spirit. You alone have the authority to develop your consciousness, to align absolutely with the infinite. That's where you find direction to address the stones that are standing in your way again and again. Those stones all started because of a circumstance. When we can't have things our way, here's where they start. You can feel it in your gut. And life seems painful and unkind. We feel blocked. There's a stone wall. We cannot manipulate or shape. This is so big. We cannot manipulate or shape anyone else's consciousness to meet our demands and needs. That's not how this works. And when we return to the divine for our solace and our answers to any struggle, we're set free. We are guided in truth. And so Earnest Holmes supports this by saying, we may meet difficulties, uncertainties, and doubts, barriers that are walling our passage. But we must not be discouraged when so confronted. We must climb over the rocks of unbelief, pass around the barriers of doubt, and plunge into the stream with faith. The stream then will ever widen. The barriers will gradually disappear. Though we walk through the plains and valleys of indecisions and doubt, the stream itself will carry us back to the ocean of our being. So poetic, Earnest Holmes. And he says, if we have a strong picture, a mental concept of what we desire in our own personal consciousness, for our own self, and we hold that as a mental equivalent, and regardless then of circumstances and conditions, we will sooner or later manifest that according to the truth. So, these stones that appear to represent what seems to be our obstacles in knowing truth on a universal level, they're only circumstances. Remember that. It's a challenge sometimes to separate out our direction when we approach it as struggling from our ego personality, that part of ourselves that seems to be more condensed, influenced by our upbringing, our conditioning, our judgments, our patterns. It's a guarded space. Ego is not a bad thing because it helps us thrive in societies. But we also have to remember this truth. And then we look deeper into what is our soul self directing us, that soul self that is forever aligned with the One. That soul self, if we're quiet enough, is forever intuitively whispering our direction to deliver us from the torments and struggles that we find before us. And this is what Michael Singer so beautifully does in all of his work, particularly The Untethered Soul and Living Untethered, and to introduce to us this idea in the title itself. Just is so helpful. It's healing. If you can imagine yourself untethered to any of these stones, any of life's stones, we all have them. But instead, you allow what is true here. What is true here? What is being revealed to me? Where's my growth? I am growing. I am evolving. I am changing. And this wall before me is my teacher. There is a social reformer named Jacob Riis that says, look at everything as a stone cutter, hammering away at his rock. Now think about the stones in your life. You're hammering away. What's the truth here? What's the truth? What's trying to be revealed to me? So perhaps 100 times without as much as a crack is showing as you continue to hammer away at the rock before you. Yet at the 101st blow, it splits in two. And you know it's not the last blow that did that, but all of your attempts that had gone before. It's a cumulative effect as we walk this journey together and find our way. So as I looked at the message from that point of view, I could really see some of the stone walls in my own journey. But I thought, standing stones themselves that we see as destination points, right? To go visit. They're so incredibly awesome and beautiful. I thought, what is that? How does that relate here? And I thought, when I researched it, my understanding was so quickened by this wonderment of these sacred stones on earth. And several times, they remain such a beautiful mystery on our planet. Those of you that have had the privilege, several of us had the most glorious adventure to Peru several years ago. And when you walk into those sacred sites, those stones are huge, they're massive, and yet they are shaped and created in such a way to create temple and form. And you think, how can, they had no equipment to move them, they were moved by hand, and you think, how does this happen? And the stone temples seem to call you. They seem to say, here, sit, here's a little pebble of a stone large enough for you to sit upon. Please take a seat and feel. Feel the vibration of the energy of this sacred site. When you see all of those standing pillars in different parts of the country, the planet, where'd they come from? Who stood them up? How did that happen? the pyramids. Think of our own Castle Craigs, the glory of those mountains and those rock forms. They're so powerful. They're a testimony to the power and the strength and the endurance. Stones. So be curious and allow and realize that they have endured all time. So I came across these resources that really put me in a moment of awe, and I want to share them with you. When you arrive at sacred space or the standing stones, become silent. Listen to your inner voice, because it requires you to be quiet in order to hear. Now, I just flashed when I went to a Bioneers lecture on this woman that they were able to take a microphone down into the center crevice of these huge rocks, and you could hear in the silence, if you were still, the heartbeat of the rocks. They had a rhythm and a beat that lulled you into an altered state. How does that happen? And yet we sometimes just, maybe we're driving up I-5 towards Shasta, and there's the Craigs. Wow. We stop sometimes and just look. Those are the Castle Craigs. And if you've ever hiked that path, it's hard. I couldn't get out of the car when I was done. But the idea of them, and to put your back up against one and to be held by that form of Mother Nature, is just incredibly healing. So become silent and listen. And what do they represent? The standing stones, it is known, were used by God many times in reference in the Old Testament, and they were a memorial of God's blessings and greatness. So that when the ancients would pass a standing stone, they would ask, what happened here? What happened here? I invite you to take that with your own stones on your path. What happened here? And then sit silently with it to see what arises, because God's work is unfolding. And so these literal standing stones were known to be remembered in those moments to praise the divine, to praise God. And one more point, the significance of the man-made standing stones has been debated as they date all the way back to Stone Age, though it's widely believed that they were placed in order to memorialize a notable event, a celebration, to signify a religious belief. Wow. So if we look at that metaphorically, when they mention the Old Testament, I take it personally and I think, well, the Old Testament kind of reminds me of, let's look into our past. And when you look into your past and know that every stone that you tumble across represents a memorial marking where you thought you were stuck, but it is really there as God's blessing to you and a demonstration of how great this is, that we had the emotional ability to move through some very challenging things in our lifetime. Those challenging, painful circumstances. How now then can we shift into a greater understanding that which we have cursed, that which we avoided is truly our blessing on our way. So we stop and we ask the questions, what happened here? And we think beyond, where we were limited in our suffering in those moments, to a profound field of freedom, a place where your faith and your trust in knowing always that you are evolving. Please know that something greater is always evolving. Take that personally. And then you see, oh, this is mine to see. This is mine to bless. This is mine to praise. So these messages of standing stones combine and transcend spiritual truths from many disciplines and traditions. They explain the true power sources in our world, and they provide a design for how can we realign ourselves and benefit from standing still long enough. There's a book actually called The Standing Stones Speak. And the authors have put together, unifies an underlying wisdom actually of Christianity, Buddhism, and the Sufis. It interprets the lives of many great teachers and clear back to Atlantis, to that time. It links together the idea and the wisdom of chakras, crystals, earth spirits. It's got it all. But in particular, it says, receiving from the stones a deeper understanding. What revelations can you receive by standing in your question while being embraced by a powerful strength of the standing stone? So, right now I want to take you just into your own personal journey here. I know all of you as little people, little children. I know I can see you standing, jumping, leaping, boulder to boulder. Remember that? It was so much fun. Our knees just could do everything. And we would climb and find the highest boulder at a picnic and champion that as we'd stand tall on the very top of it. We would go to the creek beds and just jump from stone to stone with no fear. So I wanted to take you there. Close your eyes and go back. Go back to a moment where you had an intimate relationship with a stone, a boulder, a wall of rock. Go there. It's your favorite place. It's a place of adventure. And you arrive there with full abandon. And just to allow your imagination to take you. So I invite you, breathe with that. Breathe with that, stay with that. Arrive at that. Can you? Allow your spine to lean up and be held, embraced by a stone that you can image now. And imagine the circumstances of your life, what truth needs to be revealed, because you see that tiny person is still inside of you. It was that part of you that trusted. So you allow yourself to feel that in the nature of your being. Lean in and let go. Let it all go. Whatever you can imagine that arises in you now, whatever it is, this is a healing moment. You're in the standing stones of your experience. Whatever was before, let it reveal to you what happened here. What happened here? And feel the thoughts arise like bubbles that are transparent. Thoughts that flow upward, outward. And as you breathe, they pop into the eternal space. They disappear just like that. The old thoughts, the thoughts that you allowed to stir around in you and cause you the suffering, that allowed you to feel that you were stuck here. They hardened your mind. But don't think back into trying to shape it all again. Continue to just let those bubbles pop. Let yourself feel free and rest. Imagine letting go. Yes, you are. It's happening right now. You realize as you sit there in your innocence, you don't have to be right. It doesn't have to be your way. You just so long to be free. Imagine, no resistance. Something shaping into a thought form. And you try again to see it as a transparent bubble only that's popping the minute you take a deeper breath. You are untethered to what was, dissolving into the infinite oneness of love. Only love, only love. Can you feel it in the innocence? Can you champion that as your soul expands from this consciousness and releases the walls that held you back? This is a moment, this is a very precious moment, taking you into the field beyond right and wrong. This is where we're all meeting. Just be, just be, just be. You're communing here with the one. This is the field of oneness. There's no boundaries. Ask your questions so quietly. Speak. Speak then to those persistent stones that only appear evident. There is a message then. If they're still there, there is a message. They only appear stubborn in their nature, but they're here to teach you something very profound about your true nature. And keep allowing it to open the story of your wall until suddenly that disappears as well by the Spirit of the Divine. Nothing stopping you from seeing and transforming what seemed according to your assumptions, opinions, experiences, and judgments at that time. And through time, as you repeated the story, now you get to let it go. It was only a messenger. Stay with the questions until you're able to witness it all transformed, all transitioning into a glorious revelation of truth, setting you free. This is communing with the divine. The stones are revealing to you where you have suffered limitation, where you have diminished your own power. The weakness once revealed is leading you to healing that. Healing, dissolving the standing stones, as if each one were now chemically dissolving before you with each powerful breath that inspires you with your determination to be free. This is true strength. Here now are the standing stones that become now a mere remembrance, a touchstone for your altar, to remember your way, to accept what is and what has been, and choose now, choose right here to live more reverently with what is going on, and sincerely offer it to the divine way of seeing. This is seeking truth. We don't hold it anymore. And sometimes you might find your hands in your pocket, rolling a stone in your pocket. Let it be the touchstone that reminds you that your healing is being revealed and your struggle is over. The infinite one of love is carrying you now as you remind yourself, this is my true nature. Let us breathe. This is the creative process. This is the divine way. And soon in the future, there might be another stone to turn or trip on. But let the message this day remind you that you're meeting each stone one by one. Stop and be still and ask what is trying to be revealed here. What is the gift of all of this? And be gentle with yourself. Don't react, but respond. Respond with love, a love of yourself first. Sit in the questions until you find the peace. Let the emotional charge inform you instead of wall you in and away from source. How else can you see something? Is there another point of view that you are too stubborn to see? Ask what is yours to know, and then listen. Cain Wiley said, "It is our birthright that we should learn and grow from life. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. Just look for spiritual truth. Look for the light behind every bit of darkness. We're here to learn and grow and become. There are no accidents. When we realize that everything is happening only for our spiritual growth, we can ask very confidently, what am I to learn from this?" So I'm going to invite Judy up to prepare for our prayer that takes us one more level deeper. Because we have an understanding now that we've all lived our life and that life has dared us sometimes to remember these truths. But if you can remember that something greater, something more loving is always holding you, something far superior to the challenge itself. One other theologian said, transformation has to do with the way the walls are separating us from others and from our deepest self. They will begin to disappear as we sit in the oneness. So in prayer now, as Judy begins, see the walls that were separating you from one another and yourself. Pray them away. Go into that field, that beautiful field. Rumi says, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek. Find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about ideas and language. Even the phrase each other does not make sense anymore. So with loving grace, my vision now is seeing each of us here, each one of you at home listening, that we are choosing now to lay down or even to lean in to the sacred stones that we can image in our own mind. Whatever it takes to feel held by something greater and to surrender to that, to say, I let go, I forgive, I release, I let go, I release, I let go. I savor this moment of divinity being expressed so powerfully in my life experience, a shared experience with everyone else in the same field that I lay my head and heart upon. And I breathe, and this breath seems fuller, deeper, richer, more powerful, more centered, more thoughtful, more loving. The walls are down, my heart is free, and it expands this love out into the universe and beyond. There's no way to contain this now. We're set free. The standing stones have shown us the way. So thank you, God, for truth revealed, for truth revealed, for truth revealed, inspired and held in our hearts forevermore. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And so it is. Thank you for listening. George, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue, for taking us there. She always does. There's always serendipity and magic. Well, I don't know. You might not want to call it magic, but I will. I'd like to sing a song that I wrote. And I think it happens to be on topic. It's called Seen Enough Living. See what happens with this. I love playing a stringed instrument because I think there's a lot of, I love doing something vibrating, the vibrating and the tones, and the earth having its own pitch that it sings in. And those things I think are very, very cool for me. Seen enough living to sing out of blues, just enough living that I can use to turn this morning into a song that helps my soul to get along. Seen enough living to sing that tune, and I can lay my burden down. Can lay down a tune and I can give it away. Wasn't meant for me to keep it any old way. Seen enough living to sing that tune, and I can lay my burden down. Seen enough living to go to my knees and ask the Lord to carry me. Let go of what I was trying to be and find out what I am. Seen enough living to sing that tune, and I can lay my burden down. I can lay down a tune and I can give it away. It wasn't meant for me to keep it any old way. Seen enough living to sing that tune, and I can lay my burden down. I've seen enough living to take me home and know that I will never be alone. Quit working my fingers down to the bone, just let my songs fly free. I've seen enough living to sing that tune, and I can lay my burden down. Once more. Lay down a tune and I can give it away. Wasn't meant for me to keep it any old way. Seen enough living, sing that tune, and I can lay my burden down. And I can lay my burden down.
Thank you, George. I'd like to invite the ushers up. So this time when we prepare for the offertory, I just want you to just hold in consciousness your way of giving to this center, whether it be through your seva, through your monetary gift, or just holding the high watch, for the center. Just hold that in your consciousness and in your heart and through your hands as the basket passes. And then it's a blessing during this activity. Okay?
I am so grateful.
please join with me in offering our blessing to this service, to this community, to the way we communicate out into the larger community and represent a beacon and a place to come, to study and to grow. And so I give great thanks for all that's been given, knowing that your gift returns back to you in many different ways, and it helps to allow this center to grow and to prosper. So we are so blessed, and I give thanks, and together we say, and so it is. So we're going to have a closing song, and there will be some coffee and tea and slight refreshments in the social hall, but we're not doing the food right now. We'll start that back up in the fall. But it's still a great opportunity to go meet people and talk to people and say hello to someone that maybe you don't know and you just want to get to know them. So thank you for being here today. Sue will come up after the final song and give a final goodbye. Thank you.
This is, again, I'm going to sing a song that I wrote, but I think everyone will have some relationship to this. I've noticed that as things are going on, I keep losing people, and I miss them. But so this song is called "Borrowed Time." You know this work don't ever end, just goes on and on. Just the way it's always been, it's the way we get along. Can you tell me once again, try to tell me slow, when do I lay this burden down? Tell me if you know. I'll tell you now, and I'll tell you true, you find no time is free. Give to Caesar Caesar's due, but listen now to me. It's borrowed time, borrowed time. This time we spend together now, I say it's borrowed time once more. Borrowed time, borrowed time. This time we spend together now, I swear it's borrowed time. Well, it seems there is no way to win, there is no finish line. Foolish people thick as sin try to tell you how to spend your time. Look into your family's eyes before you turn to go. Your heart will tell you what is true and just what matters more. So I'll tell you now and I'll tell you true, you'll find no time is free. Give to Caesar Caesar's due, but listen now to me. It's borrowed time, borrowed time. This time we spend together now, I say it's borrowed time. Borrowed time, borrowed time. This time we spend together now, I say it's borrowed time. So call around the ones you love, hold them close to you. In time you'll count your blessings, that you did what you could do. Or you'll curse the day if you walk away, leave them where they stand, and threw away love's only day as time slips through your hands. So I'll tell you now and I'll tell you true, you'll find no time is free. Give to Caesar Caesar's due, but listen now to me. Borrowed time, borrowed time. This time we spend together now, I say that's borrowed time. Borrowed time, borrowed time. This time we spend together now, I say it's borrowed time. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here. I love it.
We love you, George. That was a touching song. Yeah, so we're all on borrowed time. So the practitioners I want to remind you here to be in service. If something came up for you and your stone seems stubborn, maybe they can sit with you and find a deeper truth that you can walk away with free. And as you walk out, there's Steve, put that trash can out there, and then whatever burden you've been carrying, just dump it in there, okay? And then we'll put it out in the dumpster before we go home today. So don't carry any burdens home with you. You set yourself free today. So go live your truth and be in love. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.